So how many snaps exactly will Rashawn Gary play on Sunday?
Tune in Sunday.
In all seriousness, how has he looked and where do you think he's at after what he's been through?
You know, I'm not going to even attempt to put my doctor hat on or flea hat on, but I know the kid's worked his tail off to get to where he's at. So, you know, he'll be on a pitch count. What that pitch count exactly is, you know, like I said, tune in Sunday, but he's really, I'm trying to remember. I guess it's when we went to Cincinnati. Was that when we took him off PUP that week when we went to Cincinnati? I think that was it. And just looking at him and being like, you know. But now, I mean, the last 2 weeks, he's looked really good. So it's exciting.
Joe, what do you think the domino effect is for the defense? Obviously, you know what he does, but I mean, from an emotional standpoint and intensity standpoint, do you see him kind of rub off on, you know, the guys around him when he's on
yeah. You know, I've told you guys before that, you know, when we lost him last year, we didn't just lose the player, the dominant, you know, game-changing player. We lost his work ethic. We lost his mindset that he brings every single day. And it's really in every aspect. I mean, if you know, I'm fortunate enough in my position when coaches have individual meetings, I bounce around all the meetings every day, and just the way, just his approach that he, you know, takes a 30-minute meeting with Coach Rebs is exactly the same way that he takes his approach when he plays on the field. So when you miss that, when you lose that, you not only lose the player, but you lose the leader, you lose that emotional leader, that grit leader that he brings to us every single day. So it's great. It's great to have him back.
What does DJ Moore do for their offense, and what does that do for your preparation for a team that you've faced a bunch, but now they had a real X-factor kind of guy?
Sure. You know, I think I think anytime that you add, you know, a playmaker to any offense, it obviously enhances them, and then it's always a challenge, especially in the first game. You know, you know what he was in Carolina. You know him by reputation, but how exactly are they going to use him? It's always, you know, there's always uncharted and unscripted looks that you have to defend in the preseason. So, but really good player, and you know, it's a guy that we're going to have our antennas on all the time, our antennas up all the time, knowing where he's at, because he's a guy that can change the game.
This is obviously a big test for your run defense with Justin Fields. Just what gives you confidence that your run defense as a whole can be better than it was last season?
Sure. Well, it's got to be. You know, it was a huge point of emphasis. Obviously, all off season, all through the OTAs and training camp, and what a challenge this first game in, you know, defending the best rushing offense in the National Football League last year. And then it's a whole nother dynamic when you talk about what Justin brings to him. Because not only are they a good running team when they simply turn and hand the ball off, he brings a whole nother element. So it's going to be a great challenge for us, no doubt.
Joe, how hard is it to, I mean, we all say, okay, put a spy on Justin Fields, a guy who follows him wherever he goes. How hard is that to do with the schemes you're trying to run defensively?
Sure. You know, I think it's just all 11 people on the field have to be aware of it. You know, you can't just have it be on the four-man rush, and we got a spy. When you're playing against a quarterback like Justin, especially whether it's a designed run or it's just simply, you know, it's a pass that goes off schedule and he takes off. It's all 11 people. Not only the people that are responsible for rushing the passer, not only the linebackers, for example, on the second level, but even the people that are in coverage, because what he can do before he crosses the line, that, you know, he can attempt to pass down the field. So I'm a firm believer when you play a quarterback like Justin Fields, it's all 11 guys. It's not just on, you know, a handful of people. It's all 11. You have to be aware of them.
With that being said, after 2 years, 4 games, do you feel like y'all have a better sense of maybe what makes him tick, when he likes to tuck it and run, or is it just sort of a play-by-play basis?
Sure. You know, I think the only thing I'd answer with that is that it has been 4 games, 2 years, but it's been with 2 different coordinators. It's been in 2 different systems, you know. But I do believe that he's not going to catch anybody by surprise now. I mean, we know what he is. But even with that being said, you know, the guy still had 1,200 yards rushing last year. So he is a massive threat no matter what he does, whether he's dropping back to throw the ball or it's a designed quarterback run. But you got a little bit of an idea of you know, what type of quarterback he is, obviously, going into his 3rd year.
For the edge rushers, how do they strike that balance of getting after the quarterback but making sure they're not allowing him to get outside either?
Sure, it's something we preach all the time, because you never want to rush with those guys. You never want to rush cautious or scared. You want to go and let them pin their ears back, but you definitely have to be coordinated. You definitely have to be smart, right? You have to rush smart. But we still want to allow those guys to go do what they do and you know, get after the passer. But you definitely have to be very conscious of who the quarterback is, especially a quarterback like Justin Fields.
So sort of more of a big picture question, but just in your time in the league, how have you seen RPO sort of evolve in an offense and what a defense has to do to answer it?
Sure. Well, it's weird with the specific with the RPO. You know, especially when you're talking probably maybe the last 5 or 6 years, everything goes in trends, and I think we've talked in here about that before. That it may take a year or 2 for the defense to catch up, and then they find a way. But then the offense comes up with something else. So the RPO is no doubt about it. That obviously was a college trend that kind of made its way into the NFL. And there's all different types, you know, there's the true RPO, but then there's also, you know, pass solutions that they have off of a run play. So those are just all things that kind of are normal NFL football that we have to defend. But I definitely think what makes it such a challenge is when you have a quarterback. Everyone runs forms of RPOs, but when you have a quarterback that is, you know, as good as an NFL running back doing it, then it brings another element. And that's obviously something they have with their quarterback being Justin Fields.
Have you seen defenses, especially in the front seven, have to get quote unquote faster to answer that?
Yeah, but I think that's football in general. You know, it is such a speed game now. It's such a tempo game now. I think to play really on either side of the ball, but definitely to play defense, you know, the first attribute that you always look for when you're looking at players is you got to be able to run, because it is a speed game. And obviously the faster offenses are, the faster defenses have to be. But I definitely think that's just today's NFL.
Joe, I'm not sure Keyshawn had played as much defense ever in his life as he has these past couple weeks in practice. What have you seen from him in that nickel spot going into this season?
Well, you know, the thing I do love, you know, talking about traits and attributes of players, you know, the one thing, as you guys know, with Keyshawn is that he's very confident, and he's confident in his abilities and you know what he can do. But I definitely think that it has helped him. You know, we made the decision early on in the offseason that he was going to be our nickel. So it's not one of those things that we kind of fell into it, or he was the second team guy that won the job. Really, from our first OTA day back in May, Keyshawn's been our starting nickel, and he's gotten the exclusive work the last 6 months with our starting group. So it's been huge.
Hey, Joe, I know your players don't want to be giving away your game plan, but there's a pretty
Should
clear...
I just say, show up Sunday? Should I answer it that way?
Just make sure that you're with me on this. So we've got Jair Alexander telling us, hey, I'm going to travel with #1 receivers more. We've got Rasul saying, hey, we're going to be more aggressive. We're going to be up on the line of scrimmage. We're going to play more press man. Kenny Clark is talking to us about being more aggressive up front. He's not being specific because he doesn't want to give us too much information because he's a savvy veteran like that. Is your defense going to look a lot different than what we're accustomed? I'm not asking for what you're going to do on Sunday, but overall this season, have you made some?
Do you want me to give you the whole game plan right now? Or?
No, I just want part of it. No, I'm serious. Like, have you had a change in philosophy? Because your guys are talking like you have, and it sounds to me like maybe your willingness to listen to them has led to some tweaks, and we're not just going to run that style that I came in with. We're going to do some different things. I just want to understand what kind of your philosophy or your process is.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you any game plan secrets here, but I will answer it in this way, kind of similar to what I was saying earlier. I think football is always evolving, and definitely offensive football is. And I think you have to, every single year, I don't know if you go as extreme of saying that you change your philosophy, right? I think most people have a philosophy and they're usually, pretty strict to that. But I will say you definitely have to evolve, or, I think change is probably too extreme, but you definitely have to evolve, and you definitely have to look at what you're doing, and sometimes maybe what you said, maybe a better word than change is tweak what you're doing. I think you have to do that every single year, or offenses are just too good now, and they change and they evolve and they sign players and they do different schemes. I think defensively you definitely have to keep up with that. I'm a firm believer. I think my philosophy is what it is, but I definitely think there's going to be tweaks and there's going to be subtleties that you change and do things different every single year.
Does it help you to be more malleable or whatever it might be? Because,
I don't know what that word means.
Sorry. Flexible.
Oh, there you go. Malleable, is that what that means?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I love it. It's great.
So you're in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
With Rod and Monty Kiffin, and you guys run the Tampa 2, and it's great for a while, and then teams start to catch up to it, right?
Sure.
Then you have the Vic Fangio defense, which you learned, and that was kind of what was going to be your calling card when you got here. So when you've coached in different systems and done things differently, does that allow you to be more flexible now when you're in this position?
Yeah, I think that is, I think the great thing about, I know with my career, is that I've been able, you've mentioned a few of the guys, I've been fortunate to be around Monty Kiffin, and I worked with Rod Marinelli and Mike Tomlin, and then I went on and I worked with Wade Phillips for 3 years, and I think you're able to, but then also I was with Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur and guys like that, so I learned, you pick up knowledge as you're always going, and I think even though you have a system, you have a philosophy, you have a belief, but I think everyone always puts their own stamp on whatever they do. It's like what's transpired with the West Coast offense all these years. It started with Coach Walsh, and Coach Holmgren, and John Gruden, and Mike Shanahan, but everyone over the years has put their own stamp on it, even though they're a West Coast guy. So, but I still believe, back to what I originally said, you have to evolve. You have to, because it's ever changing. It never stays the same. And I think if you stay the same, you get passed by. So I think every single, the 2023 Green Bay Packers is going to be completely different than the 2022 Green Bay Packers. There's no doubt.
Can I ask you about Devontae Wyatt?
Sure.
I thought I saw some reps from him this summer I had not seen before, where how he won them, and it looked to me like he was throwing his hands.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him about it, he said, yeah, there's some things that Jerry has worked with me.
Yeah.
And I said, so where was that before? He says, I needed the confidence it was going to work.
Sure.
Like, the coach gives you the toolbox, but he still, is that an accurate depiction? And you probably see that every year.
Yeah. We have great conversations all the time, and I tell you guys, every single rookie is different. Some guys come in and they make that transition from the college game to the NFL game. Sometimes it's seamless and it's easy. Other guys, it takes a little bit, and I would think if DY was standing right next to me, he'd say he didn't have the rookie year that he expected or any of us expected. And the thing that I appreciate is that he kept working, he kept grinding. He just was a sponge with Jerry Montgomery, was a sponge with Kenny Clark and those guys. And does he still have a ton of improvement? And I still think he'll get even better. There's no doubt about it. But the thing that I always appreciate when a rookie, especially a high drafted, rookie that had high expectations, when he has a tough year, I always look at that year 2 and the improvement that he's made from year 1 to year 2. And it's been neat to see where, because he has gotten better. Does he still need to get better? Is there still things that he needs to improve on? No doubt about it. But he's made a nice jump from year 1 to year 2, with it being the off season still, with it being the preseason. Now, let's go do it when it counts.